Cultural Revolution in the 60s, which touched on every branch of life.
Wake up! Now you can thank your lucky stars you're working with me, can't you? And a smile now, come on. Smile. Smile! God.
That's why Antonioni decided to do Blow Up in England, because of it being the spot where everything was going on.
What do they call you in bed?
I only go to bed to sleep. But I remember the mystery that was around George Harrison. I wouldn't have asked him a question. I wouldn't have dared, because of the feeling he was onto something else.
There was a lot of energy around. Everybody was inspiring everybody else. And we'd go to David Hockney's studio and watch him paint, and oh, David, can I just have that little sketch? And he'd say, no, you can't. and then we'd go off and he'd say, oh, let's go and see the Stones. They're recording at so-and-so, and then we'd off go there. So we could just do anything, nobody minded. Everybody was flying around like that. It was all so possible and so easy, and we didn't think twice about it.
For whatever his, faults were, and he had karma to work out. And he wasn't going to come back and be bad. He was going to be good and bad and loving and angry and everything all at once. If someone said to you, okay, you can go through your life and you can have everything in 5 lifetimes, or you can have a really intense one and have it in 1, and then you can go and be liberated, he would have said, give me the 1, I'm not coming back here. I thought he was really somebody who was saying something that I connected with. He was really a very captivating person, and he was working. And I liked the music, I liked what he was doing. We just seemed like partners from the very beginning.
Jim Calder's here? No. How long does it look like?
About 3 minutes.
Good.
Everyone has choice when to and not to raise their voices. Should I decide which way you will turn, while feeling that our love's not your concern? Should I decide? No one around you will carry the blame for you. No one around you will love you today and throw it all away tomorrow when you rise.
There was this amazing sunset, just orange sky, and he said, that is what I want to do. Now, somebody might say, what? What do you want to do? What he wanted to be able to create that sunset. When we were first on tour, we were in customs and they were going through my hand baggage. I hadn't revealed anything to George really, and they're going through my handbag. He said, oh, you got that book, do you? And he was like, it's like going through my bag with the customs. Oh, you read that. Oh, you've read that. That's good. He was approving of my journey, and he, I think, considered himself a bit of an expert on spiritual matters. Yeah, we had our differences. I might have done a different technique than he did, but we both had the same goal, and I think that was really the key to everything in our lives.
He had this ability to bottom line everything by pulling focus and showing you the cosmic world of this galaxy, and there you were suddenly, just this little person with his own little problems fretting away on the surface. So I had heard a little about George liking Python, and I've been a bit wary because I don't want to know about somebody famous, but we had the screening of the Holy Grail, and it went really well, and suddenly there he was. He goes, oh, this is fucking great, come on. And he said, let's go upstairs. And then we started a dialogue which went on for about 48 hours. It was extraordinary. I mean, it was like...
Defiant and so determined. Nothing was going to stop him from leaving his body and leaping as high as he could go.
It was the millennium. And we were staying in Santa Barbara with some friends, and then this awful news came through. I said to Tanya, we have to go. And so I called up and said, should we come? And he said, where are you? So we got on a plane and came immediately. And it was very powerful. I mean, they would walk us around where the various stages of the attack took place. When they picked him up and they put him on this stretcher and they carried him downstairs. And there were two people who had just started work that weekend. And he's been carried out, stabbed with 8 stabs. He looks over and he says, so what do you think of the job so far? Which is a great kind of, very George.
So Danny and Livy and George came up to this house, and he just was so distraught. I've never ever had a time when there's so many tears have been shed of just total grief of no death, just grief of what a horrible thing somebody could do to another person without actually killing them.
He was very, very badly attacked, and by the time he died, he didn't even have a single scar on him. I mean, he was like a yogi. He moved on from that physically and mentally, and didn't let it affect him. But it definitely took years off his life, you know. So if you're trying to fight cancer and then you're trying to stay alive or something like that, you know, it's got to take it out of you, you know.
We went to Fiji take us to the island where there isn't anybody, and then take us in a boat and drop us off at the cove where there isn't anyone, on the beach where there isn't anyone. And then he'd disappear. It's like he's only with me. And then he would go off on his own, but he'd come out like dressed in banana leaves or something, you know, with like heliconas and things. He liked to, for him, I think that was just like building a fort out of bracken.
I had experience which speeds up the whole idea of, you know, if you have something happen to you physically, then, you know, people can go in hospital or have something wrong with them and, you know, have a shock or something like that. And then you think, wow, yeah, I could be dying now. Now, if I was dying now, what would I think? What would I miss? If I had to leave my body, you know, in an hour's time, what is it that I would miss? And I think, well, I've got a son who needs a father, so I have to stick around for him as long as I can. But other than that, I can't think of much reason to be here.
We had this whole 30 years together, and then at the end, you're able to just decant that time. We spent that summer together, and we had so much fun. It's amazing, you know. It's like at the end of your life, here's the conversation. I hope I wasn't a bad husband. Well, I hope I was an okay wife. You know, how did we do? How did we do? And then I think, I'm so glad that we just kept walking this path together. And all those other things that came and went, we just swatted away and batted away between us, you know?
He had a long battle with his cancer. He's such a brave lad.
What do you miss the most about George?
His humor, his friendship, his love. I've lost racing drivers, so many of my friends have been killed. I've been with them when they've died. I've had an enormous exposure to emotional experiences, and yet I don't think there's much else that's ever given me such a long-lasting bereavement as George's loss. And I can't say that I was one of George's very best friends, because a lot more people spent a lot more time with him than I did. But I at least felt such a closeness to him that it still affects me to this day. I could give you a dozen names, and I'll bet you they would say the same as I'm saying. It wasn't a skill, it was just an aura which provided us with a feel-good factor that we didn't get from many people in our lives.
The last weeks of George's life, he was in Switzerland, and I went to see him, and he was very ill, and he could only lay down. And while he was being ill and I'd come to see him, I was going to Boston because my daughter had a brain tumor. And I said, well, I've got to go to Boston. And he goes, that's the last words I heard him say, actually. And he said, do you want me to come with you? Oh, God. So, that's the incredible side of George. God, it's like Barbara fucking Walters here, isn't it?
There was a profound experience that happened when he left his body. It was visible. Let's just say you wouldn't need to light the room if you were trying to film it. He just lit the room.